Donald Trump and his co-defendants in various different cases did not have a very good week in court. While Donald Trump did, of course, notch a couple of victories, they were able to get Fani Willis to agree to release the names of the 30 unindicted co-conspirators, but that's actually less a victory and more of a trap, because now if he mentions any of their names in social media, she can bring charges of potential witness intimidation and tampering against him. So they count that as a victory, but I'm looking at it as more of, yeah, that's kind of a trap. And of course, you had the judge in Georgia say that no, you cannot try all these defendants all together next month. But again, that's also not exactly a victory for Donald Trump, because what that means is that his former lawyers are going to get their trials first. They're going to throw him under the bus, and then his trial is going to be much more difficult. So even the two victories that Donald Trump secured are actually pretty bad for him. But he wasn't the only one, of course. And actually, there's more bad news for Trump. And you know what? Let's just start with Trump then, right? In the Eugene Carroll defamation lawsuit, Donald Trump lost a motion this week to basically delay the trial for as long as humanly possible. He is, of course, trying to appeal the court striking down his claim of executive privilege and immunity, not executive privilege, but immunity. And the lower courts already said, nope, you don't have that. And he is trying to get the appellate court system to say, yes, you do, even though they've made it clear, no, you don't. So he asked the current judge, like, hey, you got to delay this trial forever until that appellate court says that I don't have to stand trial. And the judge was like, no. I mean, I'll ask them to speed it up. I mean, the judge did say, he's like, I'll put a motion in there for them to, hey, get off your butts and tell him he can't do this, but I'm not going to delay this trial any longer. So that was another massive defeat for Donald Trump. Walt Nauta, his personal valet, who was indicted alongside him down there in South Florida, was actually handed a defeat by Judge Cannon, as was Donald Trump, by the way, when Judge Cannon told Mr. Nauta that no, you cannot just have unfettered access to the classified documents that were taken from Mar-a-Lago because you don't have the clearance. Now get this. This is hilarious. Let me read you this from Raw Story. Nauta's attorneys had argued that their client could be trusted with classified material because of his experience in the U.S. Navy. So even though the guy does not have clearance to look at these documents, his lawyers made the argument in front of the judge, like, dude, you can totally trust these guys or this guy. Like, he was in the Navy. I mean, come on. He was in the Navy. He can look at this stuff. And the judge is like, no, he can't. Like, that's not how this works. You don't just have to have a buddy vouch for you and then you get to see classified documents. That's one of the dumbest things I've heard all week. And of course, the DOJ also pointed out, like, he doesn't need to see them anyway because he was indicted on charges of obstruction of justice and making false statements. So the documents, like, they don't even apply to him. We didn't charge him with viewing or sharing or moving classified documents. We got him on obstruction of justice and making false statements. So there's not even a reason for him to do this, no matter how many people come out and say, nah, dude, you can totally trust him. So that was a defeat for Nauta. Of course, as I said, Trump also suffered a defeat at the hands of Judge Cannon when Judge Cannon told him that, no, I'm not going to let you take classified documents back to Mar-a-Lago. You have to view them in a secure facility. Trump's legal team had filed a motion weeks ago saying, hey, he's a busy guy. He's got stuff to do. He's running a presidential campaign. He can't come back down here to Florida every time he needs to look at a document or a piece of evidence. And Cannon, believe it or not, was like, well, sucks for him. He's got to do it anyway. Then, of course, you had Mark Meadows. Mark Meadows had a bad week. It started off bad for him, of course, when the judge ruled that, hey, you cannot move your case from state court to federal court. which of course would have been Meadows' way. If the judge had bought that argument and moved it to federal court, he would then be able to file a motion to get the case completely dismissed because he had already successfully proven in court that his actions with regard to the Georgia election interference were part of his official duties as a government official. Therefore, they are protected and he can't be prosecuted. He lost that. Didn't happen. And then he asked the judge, okay, judge, I'm going to appeal your ruling. So while I appeal your ruling, I need you to issue a stay in my case so that any ruling you hand down related to all the defendants, it won't apply to me because, I'm appealing and I'm eventually going to win. And the judge was like, that's cool. No, I am not going to do that either. And eventually, at the end of the week, Mark Meadows just said to hell with all of it, and he dropped his bid to move his case to federal court. So as I said, across the board, even in the two victories, big losers. Donald Trump and all of his co-defendants in all of his cases. And that is not a good sign for any of these people. If you can't even win these pretrial motions based on your legal arguments, I don't think you stand a very good chance of winning in the actual trials. Ring of Fire has fresh content 7 days a week, so if you want to be reminded about it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell to be notified every time a new video goes up.